Hello and welcome to the Department of Deportation podcast, the DEPODcast, where you can get all your latest news on immigration, the border, and deportations. Don't forget to visit deportmentofdeportation.com for all your latest news and merch. In this episode, we'll be taking a look at a Kiddy diddler getting removed and deported. We'll take a look at some people who decided to treat our country like a shithole and throw trash everywhere, and they got arrested, and one of them at least is getting deported, and we'll take a look at our southern border and some of the successes there and how it's a lot better for our border patrol right now. In our first clip, we're going to check out this Kiddy toucher who also is facing some other charges, and we're going to see that they yank him and get him off the streets. That's a good thing. We don't want him in our country. And he's yelling about his pregnant wife. It remains to be seen if that's who he was charged with statutory over, or if that's some other person and that's just his teen side piece that he was getting charged for.
That was a man asking to call his wife when immigration officials arrested him just a few days ago in York. The video has been seen thousands of times, and tonight we now know the charges that man is facing. He's from Honduras, and we just learned about these charges. CBS 21's Sarah Burns ready to fill us in with what else we know. She's in New York right now. Sarah.
Hey Joel, so ICE has identified that suspect as Noel Chinchilla Aviles. He's been charged with statutory rape and receiving stolen property in the United States, and it was on this street last week that he was pulled out of a home.
Let me go like that, no! Just dang it!
Chinchilla Aviles was detained in York on Friday. ICE officials say they got the federal warrant to arrest him a few days earlier. According to online court records, Chinchilla Aviles is 26 years old. The age of the victim in the statutory rape charge has not been released. ICE agents say he was taken into federal custody in Harrisburg, but his current location has also not been released. In a statement, the ICE field office director wrote, quote, "The arrest of Noel Chinchilla Aviles, a criminal alien with a history of serious offenses, highlights our unwavering commitment to public safety. Our officers work tirelessly to protect our communities by removing individuals who pose a threat to our nation's security."
So the American public is now safe from that guy, whereas sanctuary cities were trying to let him back out onto the street. In our next clip, we're going to head back to South Florida, where a tip about somebody throwing trash directly into the canal from a construction site leads to an immigration arrest and deportation.
Authorities detaining two construction workers for illegal dumping in Pompano Beach. They say that they were caught on camera throwing construction debris into a canal.
NBC6's Laura Rodriguez explains how U.S. border agents got involved.
According to FWC, officers responded to a wildlife alert tip. They say someone called saying there was illegal dumping of construction material inside a canal. Now, the law enforcement agency distributed this video that shows two people working on the roof of a condo. FWC says both individuals were illegally discarding roofing materials into the canal below their work location. Officers attempted to verify their identities and were unsuccessful, so FWC requested assistance from U.S. Border Patrol. Federal agents then responded to the scene, and both men were originally detained. Border Patrol says one man was released because he had legal status in this country. The other man, a Honduran national, was undocumented and had previously been deported. He is currently detained and being processed for removal proceedings. Now, FWC says the men were also issued criminal notices to appear for illegal dumping. It is unclear the exact location of this canal in Pompano Beach. We are waiting for more information.
So, as you see there, trashing your new country and treating it like a shithole will lead you to go back right to where you came from. Also, we're starting to see some results from FWC being involved in immigration in the first place, and they're now being deputized across the state to be able to deal with these illegals and possibly arrest them themselves. That's a good step, and they won't have to call ICE maybe next time. They'll be able to just do it themselves, lock people up, and start to get them out of the country. In our final clip, we'll take a look at some of the really good changes that have happened at our southern border, where Border Patrol is feeling a lot more relieved and able to actually do their jobs. We'll also take a look at where they're no longer being forced to help immigrants come into the country and being act as literal babysitters.
Nearly a year before, and just 15 miles down the road from the mountainous crossing point, hundreds of migrants bum rushed the border and tackled troops on their way.
This is exactly where that happened. That was under the previous administration, under the Biden administration, when we saw massive surges of illegal migrants coming across the border. Those were record numbers. I remember being down here nearly a year ago and seeing this scene of chaos, violence, destruction, of people desperate to get into the U.S. to get caught and then released. That's all over under this administration. The Trump administration has ended catch and release, and we're not seeing this kind of activity here at these areas that used to see hundreds of migrants amassing. Now, it's quiet.
With Trump back in office, Border Patrol agents are also back in full force on the front lines of the border in large numbers. It's a complete 180 from the border under the Biden administration, when agents were stuck in holding centers processing migrants, some of whom were criminals, gangbangers, and terrorists, who they were most of the time letting go into the U.S. Border Patrol sources have likened their jobs under the previous administration to babysitting. While they were knowingly opening up the border to gotaways they couldn't find the time to catch. Now they're jubilant since the border has been sealed off by the Trump administration, which has positioned thousands of additional troops and brought federal agents back to the front lines.
I mean, it's a relief for our agents. You know, they don't feel overwhelmed as when we were getting 2,500 apprehensions average a day. Now that we're getting less than 100, it actually gives our agents a breather. It gives our agents room to take a step back.
So, a couple things to note there. First off, the border crossings are down to literally just over 100 on some days on our southern border right now, which allows these guys to do their jobs and actually remove people who are coming in. They're no longer getting distracted by large hordes while people cross in at other spots, or at least not as much as it was. Also, we see their attitudes have highly adjusted, and these Border Patrol agents are jubilant, as it says in the video, and are able to celebrate and do their jobs, as they were supposed to. They're actually patrolling the border. Shocker. Well, that does it for this episode. Don't forget to like and share the video. You can find us on YouTube, Rumble, X, and Instagram. And don't forget to visit deportation.com if you like any of the shirts that you see in the background. It helps support our channel, and it's some cool merch.